Hey there, folks. Well, we're doing something a little bit different today. We are going to do a live stream of a flight in Microsoft Flight Simulator. We will be doing that in my native country, the United Kingdom. We'll be flying from Coventry Airport, which is not very far from where I live. It's not a particularly controlled airport, albeit it's got quite a long runway, as you will come to see, and we'll be flying to Bristol International Airport, and that's a little bit nostalgic. Coventry's near to where I live. Indeed, I've been doing some flying lessons out of there, and Bristol is where I went to university, so it's a reasonable trip. It's long enough that we can have some fun, but not so long that it will get spectacularly boring. I'm expecting this sort of end-to-end to be something like an hour. We've got the airport on, we've got the aircraft on a ramp at Coventry. It's dark and cold, so we need to start it up. Just before we do that, let me just show you here on SkyVector the flight that we'll be doing. Now, I'm going to be foregoing air traffic control, which is a bit naughty, but trust me, between streaming, VR, Flight Simulator, I've got enough going on here without worrying about air traffic control as well. So here on this map, we're here in Coventry. Now, whilst we're not doing air traffic control, we are going to fly low airway routes. So we're going to fly from this VOR here on, following this airway all the way down to Compton, so CPT. And then it's difficult for me to show you on here without it becoming hugely complex, but the standard arrival for Bristol is out of Compton, this VOR here, into Pomax here, and then direct to Bristol. So we've got a G1000 in this aircraft, so we'll be dialing all of that in to the aircraft. So let's get ourselves into the aircraft and get you some game audio. And as I say, the aircraft is dark and cold, so we will get some fuel available. Okie dokie. We will get we'll do one engine at a time, I think. So we will get and this part is going to be flat screen, but we are going to go to VR in a second. And when I do the G1000 stuff, you will see very, very quickly why it is that we are doing this. Why we are doing this on a flat screen monitor. Right, so let's get the left fuel pump on. We will get some throttle in and get that left engine started. We're not doing a full checklist start today. It would help if we got our avionics on. Okay, so that's the left engine started up. Go full rich on that and get the right engine started. Get that fuel pump on. Okay.
TOS system test. Okay.
Good. Right. Get that G1000 on. There we go. Right, so we're going to get our flight plan dialed in on the G1000. The reason I'm starting this off on a flat screen monitor is, despite how much better VR has got, you just cannot make this out in VR, I'm afraid to say, and it's just a lot easier to do on a keyboard and mouse. So first waypoint is Hon. Get that one in. Get the alternator on before we run out of battery. That is Hon. There's a few Hons in there, so we want to select the VOR EG if it'll let us pick it. Boom. Yep. So that's in. Hon. Next waypoint is CPD. PT. That's our second VOR dialed in there. And then we want to go Pomax for our star into Bristol. I am hard on whether to show you all of this. I mean, arguably, it's a little tedious watching somebody dial in nav points, waypoints, but I thought it would be interesting for those of you that are not familiar with the G1000, just to see just how straightforward it is, frankly, to use. Great bit of kit. You can see why pilots swear by it. Pomax. Long naming waypoint, as SID and star points invariably are. Pomax, there we go. And lastly, we want Bristol, which is EGDD. EGGD. So we've got real time, so you can see it's dark outside, but we're not doing real weather. I've decided, given this is the first live stream, I've recorded footage of me doing Flight Simulator, but it's nowhere near as straightforward as streaming Phasmophobia as an example. EGDD. There we go, that's Bristol, yeah, airport, right, perfect. And then we want to get that leg of the flight plan active. Activate that leg. No, oh, dearie me. No, goodness, no. On. Activate that part. Boom. Right, there we go. On CPT. Right, grand. Okay, so the aircraft has started up. We need to switch over to VR, and I need to change to a different microphone. Okay, grand. That all appears to be working a-okay. Hopefully you can all still hear me. Okay. Right. One last thing that we do need to do is just get Bristol dialed in on navigation, so when we come in for the landing, that will be nice and simple for us to do. Great little add-on app I've got here, FS Kneeboard, highly recommended if you don't already have it. Just allows you to view plates in VR. So we'll get the ATIS dialed in, 126 1. We'll do that on COM2, I think. So 126. 126. It says 030, but I know for some reason Microsoft Flight Simulator thinks it's 025. That's fine. 025. Let's just make sure that we've got COM2 switched on and make that the active frequency. Okay, and then we want to get it ILS dialed in. That is 11015. So on the nav, 11015. Get that dialed in. Ooh. 11015, and then that's at 267 degrees. So that's Heddingberg, CRS. There we go, 267 degrees. Grand. Get this. Use the CDI soft key here and get that over to our navigation. Perfect. Right. So make sure we've got our taxi lights on. We want strobe, landing lights, and our beacon on. Right. Perfect. Right. I just need you all to ignore these gentlemen that you can see off to my side. We are not going to overly faff around to get rid of them, so you just need to imagine that they're not there for 1 second. Let's get our tow brakes on. Tow brakes are on, and we'll get parking brake off. Grand. Right, so ignore these guys. We're not chopping them up. They're not there. We are just taxiing to the runway, and we are not chopping up with our propeller random dudes that just stand far too close to aircraft with spinning props. The runway is just off to our right here. I do love doing this at night. This game looks awesome at night. And get ready to get our heading bug dialed in for the runway heading. As I say, no ATC this evening, so other air users will have to vacate out of our way, I'm afraid. Okay. One last thing for us to do. We're going to be cruising at 5,000 feet. So we will just get that dialed in as well. For some reason it thinks we were going to 10,000 feet. There's no way we're doing that. 5,000 feet. Okay, let's assume that we're cleared to take off. We'll go full power. Airspeed live. Rotate. Switch that off for now. Okay, we've got vertical speed, gear up. And we want 25 500 RPM on the propellers, and we want 25 inches of manifold pressure for our climb out. And we want to be at about 150 knots as we climb on out. Nice. Coming up on 1400 feet. And just get a little bit of a turn in as we come up on our nav aid, albeit we've got a way to go yet. All looking okay with the stream. Cool. Okay. That's all looking good. A little bit fast, so we just get the nose up a bit. That's a good heading, I think, until we rendezvous with our route. Okay, that's all looking good. So 3,000 feet, 2,000 feet more to go. We're flying east, so we want to be, well, arguably with VFR, so we'd want to be at odd altitudes plus 500, but let's say we're sort of role-playing that we're doing an IFR flight, but without all the tricky ATC for this evening. We're definitely going to come on to doing that, though. We're just coming up on 4,000 feet, banked a little far to the right. We should see, as we get closer to that cruising altitude, we should see the flight director start to come in. We're a little bit slow, so we're just going to drop the nose down just a smidge. I suspect we've lost some manifold pressure. We have, because it's not a turbocharged aircraft, so as we climb and the air gets thinner, the pressure in the manifold goes down right now. So you can see the maroon lights that we've, the maroon arrows now that we've got on the G1000. That's our flight director. We don't have to follow it exactly, but it's a helpful guide for us. So we're just coming up now to our cruising altitude, 5,000 feet. And start bringing the nose down. Coming in on our navigation as well. So that's nice. So we're only going up 200 feet a minute at the moment. Just a nice slow creep up to our cruising altitude. My audio cut out. Hopefully you guys can still hear everything. Right, we're there or thereabouts at cruising altitude, so we want 2350 and I'm going to say 22 inches of manifold pressure. There we go, and we want to trim for level flight. Not too shabby. That looks absolutely spectacular out the window. As I say, I love these nighttime flights. I'll just leave it on manual for now. And once we get to CPT, we're going to be then flying west, which means we're going to want to drop to 4,000 feet. So if you're flying east, so anything 0 to 179 degrees, magnetic bearings those are, you want to be at an odd altitude, anything from 180 to 360, you're going to want to be odd, and That's pretty standard worldwide. That's IFR. Add 500 to both of those for VFR. Just come around to the left a bit. These low route airways span quite a number of miles wide, so you know, it doesn't matter if you're not exactly on the line. Try and stay as close to it as you can. Just checking the stream's okay, which it appears to be. Just losing a little bit of altitude there. Okay, that's good. As I say, not a long flight this evening. Shouldn't be much more than probably another 30 minutes or so until we get into Bristol. Just change the range on that so we can see what we're doing. Okay, good. Still on manual control, not put autopilot on. Especially feeling the need to do that at the moment. Nice. Baron is, you know, it's a powerful aircraft, it's a fast aircraft, particularly when you step up to it from the Cessnas, but it is still incredibly stable. I mean, they've been making these as long as they've been making the Cessnas, all the way back from the 70s, and it's a absolutely incredible aircraft. And I have got quite the penchant for twin aircraft, particularly complex aircraft. It just something about managing just gives you a little bit more to do. It just keeps it a little bit more interesting. Right, we're nice and level. I'm going to take my hands off of the yoke, and yeah, we're maintaining altitude, so we've got the aircraft trimmed in nicely. Just a little drop there, so we're just a tiny smidge. See, look, you put that tiny smidge of trim in up, and now we're climbing. It's a fast aircraft, this as well. Maximum cruise speed of, I think it's 202 knots indicated airspeed. Don't ask me what that is in miles per hour or kilometers per hour, because I haven't got a clue. I probably should know that. Just check that we've still got Bristol dialed in.
Bristol Airport information, Sierra 1900 Zulu. Wind 272 at 3. Visibility, niner. Sky condition, clear. Temperature, 14. Dew point, 13. Altimeter 29.92. ILS runway 27 in use. Landing and departing runway 27. VFR aircraft say direction of flight. All aircraft read back hold short instructions. Advise controller on initial contact, you have Sierra.
Perfect. Okay. So, what's our distance to CPT? 28.9 nautical miles. And this is the longest stretch of the journey. If you've not tried out the G1000, if you're still flying on steam gauges, I really do highly recommend it. It, like all things in aviation, it has a barrier to entry. It's, you know, there's education, learning, work required in order to get used to using the thing, but definitely worth it. You know, substantially superior piece of equipment to steam gauges. Of course, you've got the backup steam gauges over there. I've been absolutely delighted at just how much they've improved the VR performance in Microsoft Flight Simulator. As I said in my last video, I've been flying this on a flat screen monitor for a jolly long period of time. Massive flight enthusiast, sim enthusiast, as well as real world flying, and also an absolutely huge VR enthusiast. You only have to have a quick scroll through my channel and my videos, which of course, as always, I would encourage you to do, to see so much of the content I put out is either flight sim or VR. So it's been hugely frustrating, frankly, not to be able to combine those two things, which of course now I can. We're also looking at doing some VAT sim streams, most likely in VR as well. VAT sim, for those of you that don't know, is a free utility service, is probably a better word, where you have real human beings providing the air traffic control. You connect your simulator client into the VATSIM network, and as you're flying along, they can provide real ATC instructions, and you can fly VFR if that's your thing, or you can go all out with an IFR, instrument flight rules flight, which is likely what we'll be doing. And standard arrivals and departures is a thing that simulator based ATC has never been able to provide, and the guys and girls who do that stuff, they do a really grand job with it, actually. And it's just the most realistic and most, combine that with a VR headset, and it's the very next best thing to a simulator, almost the very next best thing to all out flying an aircraft. And of course this is a significantly cheaper way of doing that. So we're not far from CPT now, and I want to think about putting a turn in the not too distant future. A couple of airfields that we're flying over. I'll just dip my wing. You can see one there to the right hand side, and there's one sort of immediately beneath us, and without doing some really hella crazy maneuvers, I'm not going to be able to show you that. VR computers, yes, it's Valve Index, yes. Sorry, I haven't got chat set up in VR, and I do know how to do it. Just was having technical problems before the stream, so we'll try and get that sorted for the next live stream. Hugely frustrating, but rather than sort of delay the stream, I thought it'd be better to just kind of crack on and get on with it. Okay, and we should have an airport off to our left as well. Oh yeah, you can see it I think just out there. I don't think that's a road. Oh, nice. This really does look spectacular in VR. You can never truly convey via a video or a live stream just what it feels like to be inside a VR environment in this way. The only way to truly understand it is to come and do it. The system specs, I've got an RTX 2080 Ti. I've actually got two of them, which I use for SLI. There are no VR games other than one that NVIDIA created. I think it was called the NVIDIA Funhouse VR, that actually use SLI, which continues, in my opinion, to be a travesty, because VR is a perfect use case for SLI. But for the sake of this video, we've got a 2080 Ti, a Threadripper 3960X, We've got 64 gigs of G-Skill memory, and all of that housed within the fantastic Case Labs SMA A8. So I mean, it's not bang up to date, it's not the latest GPU architecture, it's not a 5000 series Ryzen CPU, but it still does an absolutely phenomenal job. I mean, this thing is, and this is a 1PC streaming setup. We are playing the game, rendering the video, outputting it, all of this being done on one machine, and that's a lot. That's a lot for the machine to deal with. So yeah, very, very pleased with how the machine is performing overall. Okay, we're going to be coming up on our turn in a second. Still manual, still not put our autopilot on. We may do that at some point if the workload starts to become very high, then we may well do that, but for now it's doing absolutely fine. I am gonna just dial in an altitude of 4,000. As I said, we're now going to be heading west, so we're going to descend and maintain 4,000 feet. Right, let's get our turn in. Little smidge of power just to maintain our altitude, just a little touch of rear stick and a little touch of right rudder as we bring around. Pull back on the stick, just maintain that altitude. Okay. Oh dear, what have we done there? And have not helped ourselves at all. Deary me, what are we doing? I'm gonna get that leg. There we go. It helps if you press the right buttons. Activate leg. Yes. Thank you. Much better. Right. We've just climbed and we have forgotten to descend to 4,000 feet. So let's do that now. As we get ourselves back on our flight path. .500 feet a minute descent, probably a little bit slow. Let's try and get that down to 700 feet, which we're not doing by pushing the nose down. We're doing that by pulling the power back, because we're getting ourselves set up to land in the not too distant future, getting a load of speed going in, and that's a bit too fast a descent. Let's get a little bit of power back in. Okay, 4,400, starting to level off. Keep coming down to 4,000 feet. Now once we get past Pomax, which is what we're heading towards now for our Bristol approach, we need to maintain 2,500 until we are 5.8 nautical miles away from Bristol, and that's largely because the area, power back in, and we're coming up on 4,000 feet. That's largely because the area is very hilly. Take it from someone who went to university there, you end up with strong legs walking around Bristol all the time. There's obstacles. Bristol is quite the penchant for hot air ballooning as well. They do an incredible hot air balloon festival each year. And if you look at the plates, I'm not going to mess around with it this very second, but the vast majority of the approach plates for Bristol all talk about hot air balloons on them. So you want to stay at a reasonable altitude for all of those reasons. Okay, that's good. Right, so 170 knots indicated airspeed. And we are 17 nautical miles from Pomax. Want to be thinking ahead at this point. Easier to plan and manage everything that you need to be doing ahead of time, rather than panicking at the last minute. So once we hit Pomax, we're going to want to descend to 2,500. We're going to want to get Bristol dialed in from a ILS perspective. I've already listened to the automated weather service. It's fair weather. We know it's a runway 27 ILS landing. That's the plate I've got down here on my knee board. We've already got everything pretty well dialed in, so no great dramas here at all. Hopefully this shows you, just how easy it is to navigate, to use the G1000. Now this journey would take, I don't know, at least 2.5 hours, I would have said, in the car. It's significantly faster up in the skies. And one of the things that I love about flight simulators, if you just want to chill out, you don't want to be scared half to death by phasmophobia, or sit and play really intense first-person shooters, and getting an aircraft up in the air, getting the autopilot on, and just enjoying the view is a fabulous, fabulous way of just chilling out. It's like driving a car. I find that very therapeutic. So there's something about something that it occupies your mind enough to stop your mind drifting onto the 11 billion woes that you've got in your life, or things that you've got to do, keeping you occupied, but not so full on and stressful as to be overly demanding and require lots and lots and lots of your attention. Simulator appears to have just cut out on us. It's not hugely helpful. Oh dear. Well, that was always the risk with what we were doing, of some technical problems. The entire game seems to have crashed. That is a jolly, jolly shame indeed. Well, I'm sorry about that, folks. I'm not entirely sure what's happened. But yeah, we have lost that completely, I'm afraid. That's a real shame. I tested that earlier as well, and well, I guess you can't win them all. There is almost no point I would think, trying to problem solve that right at this moment in time, but at least we've managed to keep OBS up and running, so far as I can tell. Well, I'm sorry, folks. You got some of the flight. You've certainly got the takeoff, and you got to listen to me yabbering on route. It's a real shame, actually, that you've missed the landing, but there's plenty of opportunity for us to come back. Rather than try and problem solve this all on the fly, I think we'll end the stream there. So let's view this as a part 2 to be continued. As always, I hope you're very well wherever in the world you are. Stay safe in the skies. Please like, share, and